The gun trembled in her small hands. Damon De Luca, the man who'd made grown criminals weep, who'd turned Brooklyn's underworld into his personal chessboard, stood frozen on the rooftop. Not because of the weapon pointed at his chest, not because of the 10 armed men behind him, hands hovering over their holsters, waiting for his signal. He froze because of her eyes. 5-year-old Kate Connor's tear-stained face reflected the neon glow of the city below, but her grip on that pistol was steadier than most soldiers he'd known. The wind whipped her dark hair across her cheeks, and her voice, God, her voice, cracked with a pain that made his chest tighten in ways bullets never could. "Why did you hurt my mama?" Hey there, beautiful souls. I hope you're having an incredible day wherever you're watching from. Before we dive into this story that's going to take you on an emotional roller coaster, do me a quick favor. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button now because you don't want to miss what happens next. Trust me on this one. Now let's get back to that rooftop. Damon's mind raced through 1,000 calculations, 100 escape routes, 50 ways to disarm a child without trauma. But his body wouldn't move because he knew that necklace hanging around her neck. A simple silver chain with a crescent moon pendant. He'd bought it 15 years ago for a woman who'd saved his life and then vanished into the kind of life he couldn't touch. Jennifer Connor. The only woman who'd ever made him want to be something other than what he was. "Kate," he said softly, his voice rough as gravel but gentle as a prayer. "Put the gun down, sweetheart. I didn't hurt your mama." "Liar!" The word exploded from her tiny frame, and her finger shifted on the trigger. Behind Damon, his men tensed. One move from them, and this child's innocence would be shattered forever. One move from her, and... He held up his hand, stopping his crew cold. "Then why is she in the hospital?" Kate's voice broke into a sob. "Why did the man say your name before he... Damon's blood turned to ice. Someone had invoked his name. Someone had hurt Jennifer in his name. Someone had made this little girl believe that he, the man who'd spent 15 years honoring Jennifer's wish to be left alone, was responsible for her mother's pain. Someone in his organization had made a fatal mistake. The pendant caught the moonlight, and Damon remembered the day he'd given it to Jennifer. She'd been a nurse, patching up his wounds after an ambush, refusing payment, refusing protection, refusing everything except that simple necklace. "If you ever need me," he'd told her, "you show this to any of my people, and they'll bring you to me. You'll always be safe." She'd smiled sadly. "I don't want your world, Damon. But I'll keep the promise." Now her daughter stood before him with that same fire in her eyes, and a weapon in her hands. "Kate," Damon said, taking one careful step forward despite the gun. "Who told you where to find me?" Her chin quivered. "Uncle Tony. He said you'd be here. He said you deserved to know what you did. But when I told him I was coming to make you pay, he tried to stop me, and I ran. Uncle Tony. Tony Corleone, his right-hand man for 12 years. The man Damon trusted with his life. The man who'd been acting strange lately, taking meetings Damon didn't authorize, making moves that didn't add up. The man who apparently knew exactly where Jennifer Connor had been hiding all these years." Damon's hands slowly moved to his sides, palms open, non-threatening. Around them, the city hummed with sirens and secrets, but on this rooftop, time had stopped. "Kate Connor, I swear on everything I am, I didn't hurt your mama. But I'm going to find out who did." His voice dropped to something dangerous, something that made even his own men shift nervously, and when I do, they're going to wish they'd never been born. The little girl's arms shook violently now, the gun dipping as exhaustion and emotion overwhelmed her small frame. "Then why," she whispered, "why does she keep saying your name? Why does she cry when she thinks I can't hear?" And that's when Damon understood. Jennifer hadn't been crying from fear. She'd been crying because she'd finally needed him, and thought he'd betrayed her. But what Damon didn't know was that Kate had something in her jacket pocket. Something Tony Corleone had desperately tried to get back before she ran. Something that would expose a conspiracy so deep it would tear the entire criminal empire of Brooklyn apart from the inside. Damon moved with the careful precision of a man who'd spent his life reading danger in every breath. He knelt slowly, bringing himself to Kate's eye level, his hands still visible, still open. "Can I tell you about the first time I met your mama?" he asked softly. The gun wavered. Kate's green eyes, Jennifer's eyes, flickered with confusion and something else. Hope, maybe, or the desperate need for this nightmare to make sense. You knew her." "I knew her," Damon said, and for the first time in years he let the armor crack. "She saved my life." 15 years ago, Damon had been a different man. Still dangerous, still ruthless, but hungry. Hungry to prove himself to the old bosses, hungry to climb from soldier to captain, hungry for power that would ensure no one could ever make him feel weak again. The ambush had come on a Wednesday. 3 bullets, a collapsing warehouse, and the very real possibility of bleeding out in a part of Brooklyn where even cops didn't venture after dark. Jennifer Connor had been driving home from her shift at Mercy General when she'd seen him stumble into the street. She should have kept driving. Every survival instinct should have told her to speed away from the tattooed, bleeding man who represented everything her world wasn't. Instead, she'd stopped. "Get in," she'd said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. She'd taken him to her tiny apartment, not to a hospital where questions would be asked, and spent 4 hours extracting bullets with supplies from her medical bag. No judgment in her touch. No questions about his life. Just competent, compassionate hands keeping him alive. "Why?" he'd asked when the morphine made him honest. "You don't know me." "I'm a nurse," she'd replied simply. "I took an oath." But it had been more than that. He'd seen it in the way she'd looked at him. Not at the tattoos or the gold chain or the gun on her coffee table. She'd looked at him like he was human, like he was worth saving. Before he'd left that night, he'd pressed the necklace into her palm. "If you ever need me." She'd smiled that sad smile. "I won't, but thank you." He'd honored her wish. Stayed away even when every instinct screamed to protect her, to give her everything, to make her his. Jennifer Connor had wanted a quiet life, and Damon De Luca had loved her enough to let her have it. Until someone had shattered that life, and used his name to do it. "She talked about you," Kate whispered now, pulling Damon back to the rooftop. The gun had lowered slightly, pointing at the ground between them. When she thought I was asleep, she'd hold that necklace and cry. Damon's jaw tightened. Behind him, his most trusted enforcer, Leo Brody, a mountain of a man with surprisingly gentle eyes, cleared his throat softly. A warning. They'd been exposed on this rooftop too long. Tony would know by now that Kate had reached Damon. Time was running out. "Kate, I need you to trust me," Damon said. "Whatever Tony told you, whatever you think happened, I'm going to make it right. But first, you need to give me the gun." "No." Her small chin lifted with defiance that was pure Jennifer. "Not until you promise. Promise you'll save her." "I promise." "Promise you'll make them pay." Something dark and ancient stirred in Damon's chest. The part of him that had built an empire on fear and loyalty. The part of him that Jennifer had once glimpsed and chosen to ignore. "Oh, sweetheart," he said quietly, and his men recognized that tone. They'd heard it before, right before Damon had dismantled entire organizations. "I'm going to do more than make them pay. I'm going to remind this entire city why my name used to keep people awake at night." Kate studied his face with the unnerving intensity of a child who'd grown up too fast, who'd seen too much, who'd been forced to become brave when she should have been safe. Finally, she lowered the gun completely. Damon reached out slowly and took the weapon, checking the safety with practiced ease before handing it backward to Leo without looking. His eyes never left Kate's face. "Now," he said gently, "can you show me what's in your pocket? The thing Tony wanted back?" Kate's hand moved to her jacket, a child's windbreaker, bright blue and red, so innocent against the violence of this moment. She pulled out a crumpled piece of paper and a small USB drive. "He dropped these when I grabbed the gun from his desk," she said. "He got really scared when he saw I had them. Started yelling about how I didn't understand, how it wasn't what it looked like." Damon took the paper, unfolding it carefully. His face went very still. It was a police report. Official NYPD header, detective's signature, the works. But it was the content that made his blood run cold. Witness protection application, Jennifer Connor, reason for request, information regarding the Moretti family's trafficking operations. Threat level, extreme assigned handler, Detective Anthony Corleone. Anthony Corleone, Tony's brother. Tony, who'd worked for Damon for 12 years. Tony, who'd sworn loyalty with blood and oath. Tony, whose brother was a cop. A detail Damon had known about and carefully monitored. Tony, who'd apparently been playing both sides. "Leo," Damon said quietly, his voice cutting through the night. "Get Marco and Sonny. Lock down every exit in the building. If Tony Corleone is still in Brooklyn, I want him found. If he's not, I want to know where he went and who he's with." "Boss," Leo hesitated. "Tony's been with us since he was planted to monitor me, apparently." Damon stood, placing a protective hand on Kate's shoulder. "How long has Jennifer been in the hospital?" 2 days, Kate said, her voice small again. "The man came to our apartment. He had a mask, but I heard him talking. He said Mama had made a mistake, that she should have kept her mouth shut about the old days, that Mr. De Luca didn't tolerate snitches." The old days. The Moretti family trafficking ring. Damon's mind raced backward, connecting dots he'd been too blind to see. 15 years ago, right around the time Jennifer had saved him, the Morettis had been running a trafficking operation out of the docks. Damon had been low-level then, uninvolved, but he'd heard the rumors. The FBI had come in hard, made arrests, dismantled the whole thing. Someone had talked. Someone had given the feds everything they needed. Jennifer. And she'd done it right after meeting Damon, right after seeing what the criminal world really looked like when you pulled back the curtain. She'd saved his life, and then saved dozens of others by bringing down the Morettis. "She was the witness," Damon breathed. "Tony's brother, Detective Corleone, got her into protection. That's why she disappeared. That's why I could never find her." "But someone found out," Leo said grimly. "Someone connected the dots between her and you, and they figured if they killed her and blamed you—" "Two birds," Damon finished. "Get rid of the witness who destroyed the Morettis, and destabilize my organization by making it look like I'd killed someone under my protection. My reputation would be destroyed. My men would start questioning my judgment. And in the chaos, someone could make a move for the top," Leo concluded. Kate tugged on Damon's sleeve. "I don't understand. Why would Uncle Tony hurt Mama if his brother was protecting her?" Damon crouched down again, and his expression softened, despite the rage building inside him. "Sometimes, Kate, people we trust turn out to be wearing masks. Tony's brother was a good cop who protected your mama. But Tony himself—" Damon paused, choosing his words carefully. "Tony wanted something I have, and he was willing to hurt people to get it." He looked at the USB drive in his palm. "Leo, get this to Gina. Tell her I need everything on it decrypted yesterday." Gina Ripley, his tech specialist, a former NSA analyst who'd chosen the private sector when she'd realized the government's morals didn't match her own. If anyone could crack whatever information Tony was trying to hide, it was her. But what none of them knew was that 3 blocks away, in a black sedan parked in the shadows, Tony Corleone was watching through binoculars, and he wasn't alone. Beside him sat Vincent Moretti, the son of the trafficking kingpin Jennifer had helped destroy 15 years ago. Vincent, who'd spent 15 years in prison planning his revenge. Vincent, who'd gotten out 6 months ago with one mission: destroy everyone who'd destroyed his father. and standing between Vincent's revenge and Kate's survival was a Mafia Don who'd just realized he had something to lose. Damon pulled out his phone, his fingers moving with swift precision. "I'm calling Mercy General. Which room is your mama in?" 412, Kate said. "But they won't let me see her. They said she's too hurt and I'm too little and—" Her voice cracked, and for the first time since she'd pointed that gun at him, she looked like what she was. A terrified 5-year-old who just wanted her mother. Damon's heart, the one he'd convinced himself died years ago, broke a little more. He made the call. When the nurse tried to give him the runaround, he said 4 words in a tone that could cut steel. "This is Damon De Luca." The nurse's voice changed immediately. "Mr. De Luca, we weren't aware Jennifer was connected to—" "She's under my protection. Has been for 15 years. I want her moved to a private suite. I want armed guards I personally select outside her door, and I want the best trauma surgeon in the city brought in for consultation. Budget is irrelevant." "Sir, she's stable, but the injuries were severe. Internal bleeding, broken ribs, concussion. I didn't ask for a diagnosis. I told you what I want done. How long until she's conscious?" A pause. "She's been drifting in and out. The doctor said maybe tomorrow morning for full consciousness. Put a note in her chart. Tell her Kate is safe. Tell her Damon is keeping his promise." He hung up before the nurse could respond. Kate was staring at him with something like awe. "You really did care about her?" "I've cared about her for 15 years, Kate. I just cared enough to stay away because that's what she wanted." Damon's voice roughened. "But that ends now. Someone made this my fight, and I don't lose fights." Leo approached, phone in hand. "Boss, Marco spotted Tony's car heading toward the waterfront, the old Moretti warehouse district." Damon's eyes narrowed. "The same warehouses where Jennifer gave testimony 15 years ago?" "The same." "Of course." Tony was nothing if not theatrical. He was making a statement, bringing this full circle. "Kate," Damon said, turning to the little girl who'd somehow become the center of his entire world in the span of 20 minutes. "I need to go deal with some bad men, but first I'm going to take you somewhere safe." "No." Her small hand gripped his jacket. "I want to stay with you." "Sweetheart. Mama always said if I was ever in real trouble, I should find the man with the moon necklace. She said he'd protect me no matter what." Kate's eyes filled with tears, but her voice stayed steady. "You're him, so I'm staying with you." Damon looked at Leo, who shrugged helplessly. What do you say to a 5-year-old who'd already proven she was braver than most soldiers? "All right," Damon said finally, "but we do this my way. You stay close, you do exactly what I say, and if I tell you to run, you run. Deal?" "Deal." He stood, lifting Kate easily into his arms. She wrapped her small hands around his neck, and Damon felt something shift inside him. A purpose beyond power, a reason beyond revenge. This little girl had walked into his world and reminded him of something he'd forgotten. Some things were worth more than an empire. Now he just had to make sure they both survived long enough to build something better than the life he'd made. The drive to the waterfront took 12 minutes. 12 minutes during which Kate fell asleep against Damon's chest in the back of the armored SUV, exhausted from adrenaline and fear. 12 minutes during which Leo briefed him on the contents of the USB drive. "Boss, you need to hear this," Leo said, his voice tight. "Gina cracked it. It's not just about Jennifer." Damon's arm tightened protectively around Kate. "Talk." "It's a ledger. Payments from the Moretti family to someone inside your organization. Goes back 6 months, right when Vincent Moretti got released from prison." Leo's jaw clenched. "Tony's been taking money to destabilize you from the inside, but that's not the worst part." "There's worse?" "The last entry, a payment labeled the Connor Solution, dated 3 days ago." Leo met Damon's eyes in the rearview mirror. "Tony didn't just beat Jennifer and frame you. He was paid to do it." This was never about ambition, boss. This was a contract hit disguised as betrayal. The vehicle went very quiet. Vincent Moretti, Damon said softly, and the name tasted like poison. He's been orchestrating this whole thing. The attack on Jennifer, the frame job on me, destabilizing my organization. It's all revenge for his father. Gets better, Leo continued grimly. Marco just reported movement at the warehouse. Multiple vehicles. At least 15 men. And boss... He hesitated. One of them is Detective Anthony Corleone, Tony's brother. He's not there to arrest anyone. Damon's blood ran cold. The cop who was supposed to be protecting Jennifer was on the Moretti payroll the whole time, Leo confirmed. The witness protection was fake. He was keeping tabs on her, waiting for the right moment to cash in. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. Jennifer had thought she was safe for 15 years, protected by a good cop who'd promised her sanctuary. Instead, she'd been a pawn in a long game of revenge. The Morettis had been patient, waiting for Vincent's release, gathering their pieces, and then striking when Damon had grown comfortable with Jennifer's distance. They'd turned his respect for her wishes into a weapon. "We're walking into an ambush," Damon said. "Absolutely," Leo agreed. "They know you're coming. They're counting on it. Then let's not disappoint them." Damon looked down at Kate's sleeping face. So innocent. So trusting. "But first, we make a stop." 5 minutes later, the SUV pulled up to a brownstone in Park Slope. Damon carried Kate up the steps and knocked in a specific pattern. 3 quick, 2 slow. The door opened to reveal a woman in her 30s with kind eyes and capable hands. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, not a mob doctor, not someone in the life she was Jennifer's best friend from nursing school, the one person Jennifer had trusted with the truth about Kate's father. "Damon?" Sarah's eyes widened. "After all these years, you—" Then she saw Kate in his arms, and her expression shifted to alarm. "Oh God. Jennifer, is she—" "She's alive, at Mercy General. Someone tried to kill her." Damon stepped inside, his voice urgent. "Sarah, I need you to watch Kate. Just for a few hours I have to finish this." "Finish what? Damon, what's happening?" "The truth," he said simply. He laid Kate gently on Sarah's couch, tucking a blanket around her. The little girl stirred, her hand reaching out instinctively. "Don't go," she mumbled, still half asleep. Damon knelt beside her. "I have to, sweetheart, but I promise I'm coming back. And when I do, your mama's going to be safe, really safe. No more hiding, no more fear." Kate's eyes opened slightly. "Promise?" "I promise." He pressed a kiss to her forehead, a gesture so foreign to him it felt like learning a new language. "Dr. Sarah is your mama's best friend. She's going to keep you safe while I handle the bad guys." "Will you hurt Uncle Tony?" The question hung in the air. Sarah watched him carefully, probably wondering what kind of man she was entrusting with her best friend's daughter's future. Damon looked Kate in the eye and spoke the truth. "Yes." "Good," Kate whispered. Then she closed her eyes and drifted back to sleep. Sarah walked Damon to the door. "Jennifer talked about you, you know, after a few glasses of wine, when she thought I wouldn't remember. She said letting you go was the hardest thing she'd ever done." Damon's hand froze on the doorknob. "She wanted a clean life. I respected that." "She wanted you," Sarah corrected softly. "But she wanted you more than she wanted you to change for her. So she left before you had to choose between what you were and what she needed." She paused. "Kate is your daughter, Damon." The words hit him like a bullet. "What?" "Jennifer was pregnant when she went into witness protection. She never told you because she knew you'd never let her go if you knew. She gave Kate your eyes, your stubbornness, your protective instinct." Sarah smiled sadly. "Why do you think that little girl had the courage to point a gun at the most dangerous man in Brooklyn? She's your daughter." Damon couldn't breathe. 5 years. He had a 5-year-old daughter who'd grown up without him because Jennifer had loved him enough to set him free. Does Kate know? No. Jennifer was waiting for the right time, or maybe she was just afraid. Sarah met his gaze. Don't make her wait anymore, Damon. Whatever you're about to do, come back alive. That little girl already lost 5 years with her father. Don't make it permanent. In the SUV, Leo watched his boss's face carefully. Damon De Luca, the man who'd negotiated with killers, stared down rivals, built an empire on calculated violence, looked shattered. Boss? I have a daughter, Damon said quietly. Kate is mine. Leo's eyes widened, but he recovered quickly. Then we make sure you come back to her. No. Damon's voice hardened into something Leo had never heard before. Not rage, not calculation. Purpose. Pure, unstoppable purpose. We make sure she grows up in a world where the Morettis can never touch her, where dirty cops can't use her mother as bait, where she doesn't have to point guns at people to feel safe. Boss, that's not the world we live in. It will be. Damon checked his weapon, his movements precise and cold. By tomorrow morning, the Moretti family ends. Tony Corleone and his brother end, and everyone who thought they could use Jennifer and Kate as pawns learns why you don't threaten a Mafia Don's family. Because what Vincent Moretti didn't know, what no one knew, was that Damon De Luca had just discovered he had everything to lose. And a man with everything to lose is far more dangerous than a man with an empire to protect. The warehouse district smelled like rust and old blood. Damon remembered this place, the crumbling buildings where the Moretti empire had rotted from the inside, where Jennifer's testimony had brought federal agents swarming like wasps. Now it was Vincent Moretti's stage for revenge. 3 vehicles, Leo reported, scanning through night vision binoculars. Counting at least 12 hostiles. Tony's inside the main warehouse. Detective Corleone is positioned by the east entrance. And Vincent? Haven't spotted him yet, but he's here. This whole thing reeks of his style. Damon studied the layout, his mind working through scenarios with the cold precision that had built his empire. But something was different now. Every calculation, every risk assessment carried a new weight. Kate. His daughter was sleeping in Park Slope, trusting him to come back. Jennifer was lying in a hospital bed, broken because he'd failed to see the threat coming. He couldn't afford to lose. Not anymore. Boss, Leo said carefully, we're outnumbered 3-1. Smart play is to call in the full crew, surround the building, negotiate from a position of strength. No time. Vincent knows we decoded the USB drive. He'll vanish into whatever hole he crawled out of, and we'll spend months hunting him while he picks off everyone I care about. Damon checked his weapon. We end this tonight. Then we do it smart. Leo pulled up a schematic on his tablet. The warehouse has a weakness. Old ventilation system runs through the sub-basement. Marco and I scouted it years ago, when we were considering the property. We can come up inside, behind their position. Damon studied the route. Risky. Tight spaces. No room for error. Perfect. Do it, but Leo... He met his enforcer's eyes. If this goes sideways, if I don't make it out, you get to Kate. You tell her the truth about who she is, and you make sure she knows I died trying to give her a safe world. Leo's jaw tightened. You're coming out, boss. You've got a daughter to raise. A daughter to raise. The words felt foreign and right all at once. They moved like shadows through the industrial decay, their footsteps silent on concrete. The ventilation shaft was exactly where Leo remembered, a rusted grate that gave way with minimal noise. Inside, the darkness was absolute. Damon led the way, navigating by memory and instinct through passages that hadn't seen maintenance in decades. Behind him, Leo and 4 of his most trusted men followed in single file. The tunnel opened into the sub-basement. Above them, Damon could hear voices, muffled but distinct. Tony's voice, "He's not coming, he's too smart for this." Another voice, smooth and cold. Vincent Moretti, "He'll come. You don't understand men like De Luca. They think their reputation makes them invincible. He'll walk right into our trap because his ego won't let him do anything else." Tony laughed nervously. "And if the girl talked? If she showed him the drive?" "Then he knows we've been planning this for months, and he'll be even more motivated to come alone, to prove he's still the king." Vincent's voice dripped with satisfaction. "Either way, tonight Damon De Luca dies in the same building where his woman betrayed my father. Poetic, don't you think?" Damon's hand tightened on his weapon. He glanced at Leo, who nodded. They'd heard enough. But then another voice cut through, one that made Damon's blood freeze. "What about Detective Corleone's plan?" "What about it?" Vincent replied. "He wants to move on the woman tonight. Says if De Luca somehow survives, we use Jennifer Connor as the final leverage. Kill her while De Luca watches, break him completely before we finish him." Silence. Then Vincent. "I like it. Anthony, take 2 men to Mercy General. The moment you hear shooting here, you execute the Connor woman, make it look like hospital complications. We'll frame De Luca posthumously. Number." Damon's mind raced. He'd posted guards at Jennifer's door, but if Detective Corleone had NYPD credentials, he could walk right past them. Hospital security wouldn't stop a detective investigating attempted murder. Jennifer was exposed. Leo saw the calculation in Damon's eyes. "Boss, we can't be in 2 places at once." "You take the team, hit them here, fast and hard. I'm going to the hospital." Damon was already moving back toward the entrance tunnel. "That's suicide. They'll know you're gone. They'll scatter." Let them scatter. Vincent wanted poetic justice. He's about to learn that the man he's hunting isn't the same one who let Jennifer walk away 15 years ago. Damon's voice dropped to something lethal. "That man cared about his reputation. The man I am now only cares about protecting his family." "Boss?" "That's an order, Leo. You have operational command. Make them pay for thinking they could use Kate and Jennifer as bait." Damon paused at the tunnel entrance. "And Leo, leave Tony alive. I want him breathing when I get back." The drive to Mercy General broke every traffic law in the city. Damon's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Touching. How you rushed to save her. But you're predictable, De Luca. Always were. Check your rearview mirror." Damon's eyes flicked to the mirror. 2 black sedans, closing fast. Vincent hadn't sent Detective Corleone to the hospital as the main attack. He'd sent him as the bait. The real attack was the trap Damon had just driven into. Alone, away from his men. Exactly where Vincent wanted him. "Clever," Damon muttered, yanking the wheel hard right. The SUV's tires screamed as he veered into an alley. Behind him, the sedans followed, their occupants already firing. Bullets sparked off the armored chassis. Damon's training took over. Years of evading, surviving, fighting when the odds were impossible. The alley opened into a construction site. He floored it, the SUV crashing through a chain-link fence. His phone rang. Leo's number. "Boss, it was a setup. The warehouse was empty except for 2 guys. Everyone else is trying to kill me, I noticed," Damon said, swerving around a concrete barrier. "Get to the hospital, now. Detective Corleone is the real threat." "We're 10 minutes out." "Jennifer doesn't have 10 minutes!" A 3rd sedan appeared ahead, blocking his exit. Damon didn't hesitate. He aimed for the gap between the sedan and a construction dumpster, praying the SUV's armor would hold. The impact was devastating. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. The sedan spun away, and Damon burst through onto the main road. Directly into the path of an 18-wheeler. Time slowed. Damon saw the driver's terrified face, saw the trailer jackknifing, saw, in perfect clarity, Kate's sleeping face and Jennifer's sad smile and the life he'd never gotten to live with them. Then he yanked the wheel with every ounce of strength he possessed. The SUV went airborne. The SUV landed on 2 wheels, skidded sideways, and slammed into a light post. Airbags exploded. Metal groaned. Damon tasted blood. but he was alive. Behind him, the sedans had collided with each other, trying to follow his impossible maneuver. He didn't wait to see if anyone climbed out. He kicked open the door and ran, every instinct screaming that Jennifer's time was measured in seconds, not minutes. Mercy General was 4 blocks away. Damon ran like the devil himself was chasing him, and maybe he was. His ribs screamed from the crash, his vision blurred, but Kate's face kept him moving, kept his legs pumping, kept his heart beating despite everything. He burst through the emergency entrance, gun drawn, not caring about the screams or the security guards reaching for their radios. "4th floor," he barked at a terrified nurse. "Jennifer Connor, where's Detective Corleone?" I don't. "Where?" "He went up 10 minutes ago. With 2 officers, but—" Damon was already moving, taking the stairs 3 at a time. His phone buzzed. Leo. 2 minutes out. 2 minutes might as well be forever. He hit the 4th floor and immediately knew something was wrong. His guards, 2 men he'd posted outside Jennifer's room, were slumped against the wall. Not dead. Drugged, probably, their weapons gone. The door to room 412 stood open. Damon entered with his weapon raised, expecting bullets, expecting Detective Corleone with a gun to Jennifer's head, expecting the final play in Vincent's revenge. What he found instead shattered everything he thought he knew. Jennifer was awake, sitting up in bed, an IV in her arm, bruises covering her face. But her eyes were sharp, alert, and trained on Detective Anthony Corleone, who stood frozen in the middle of the room, with Jennifer's gun pointed at his head. "Hello, Damon," Jennifer said calmly. "You're late." Damon's mind tried to process what he was seeing. Jennifer, beaten, hospitalized, supposedly barely conscious, was holding a weapon with the steady grip of someone who'd done this before. "Jennifer, what?" "Close the door," she said softly. "We don't have much time, and you need to hear the truth before Vincent's men figure out his brother is dead." "His brother?" Damon's eyes snapped to Detective Corleone, seeing him clearly for the first time. The same dark eyes, the same sharp cheekbones, the same Moretti blood. "Oh, God," Damon breathed. "Anthony Corleone isn't just on the Moretti payroll, he's—" "Vincent's half-brother," Jennifer confirmed. "Different mothers, same monster for a father. Anthony took his mother's maiden name when he joined the police force. Easier to stay hidden that way." She pressed the gun harder against the detective's temple. "Isn't that right, Anthony?" The detective's face was white. "You were supposed to be unconscious. The dosage was exactly what I wanted you to think was working." Jennifer's voice stayed eerily calm. "Did you really believe I'd spend 15 years in witness protection without learning who my handler really was? I'm a nurse, Anthony. I know what drugs do. I've been faking the sedation for 2 days, waiting to see who'd come finish the job." Damon's weapon lowered slightly. "You knew. This whole time, you knew." "I suspected for years, confirmed it 6 months ago when Vincent got released, and suddenly my safe identity started showing cracks." Jennifer's eyes met Damon's, and in them he saw 15 years of lonely vigilance. "I couldn't contact you, couldn't risk leading them to Kate. So I waited. Planned. Let them think they were hunting me when really—" "You were hunting them," Damon finished, understanding dawning. "The attack, you let it happen?" "I needed proof, needed them to move so I could trace the connections." She gestured to Anthony with the gun. "He kept a burner phone in his jacket. Every text message, every payment, every order from Vincent is on it. More than enough to end the Moretti family forever." "You used yourself as bait." Damon's voice cracked with something between admiration and fury. "Do you know what Kate went through? What she—" "I know exactly what my daughter did." Jennifer's composure finally cracked, tears spilling down her bruised cheeks. "I know she found that necklace I kept hidden. I know she somehow got a gun and went looking for you. I know because Anthony here was foolish enough to brag about it while he thought I was unconscious, thinking he was tormenting a helpless woman." She stood, wincing but steady, the gun never wavering. I know my 5-year-old daughter was braver than I've been for 15 years. I know she did what I should have done the moment Vincent got released. She went to her father and asked for help. The word hung in the air. Father. You told her, Damon said. No, but Sarah did, apparently. Sent me a text an hour ago. Jennifer's smile was sad and fierce all at once. Kate is with your friend Dr. Mitchell safe. Protected. Everything I couldn't be because I was too afraid to trust that I'd what? Love you anyway? Protect you no matter what? Give up everything I built if it meant keeping you and Kate safe? Damon's voice rose. Jennifer, I walked away from you because you asked me to. But if I'd known about Kate, you would have kept us in your world. And your world is dangerous, Damon. And your world put a 5-year-old in a position where she had to point a gun at the most dangerous man in Brooklyn. The shout echoed. Anthony shifted slightly, seeing an opening in their distraction. Jennifer shot him. Not to kill, through the shoulder, precise and clinical. Anthony crumpled with a scream. I'm a nurse, Jennifer said calmly, but I'm also the woman who spent 15 years preparing for the day the Morettis came for revenge. I learned to shoot, I learned to fight. I learned to survive. She looked at Damon. I learned from the best, from you, from watching how you move through the world like violence is a language you speak fluently. Jennifer, Vincent's at the old warehouse, isn't he, with Tony Corleone? How did you... Because Vincent is predictable. He thinks in symbols and poetry. Jennifer moved to the window, looking out at the city. He thinks killing you where his father's empire fell will make him feel powerful. He's wrong. He's just an angry child playing with guns. Damon's phone buzzed. Leo. Boss, warehouse was a diversion. Vincent's gone. We have Tony, but... He's coming here, Jennifer said quietly, reading Damon's expression. Vincent was never going to let Anthony kill me. He wants to do it himself, wants you to watch, wants the full revenge. As if on cue, the lights in the hospital flickered, then died. In the darkness, Jennifer's voice was steady. Damon, everything I've done for 15 years was to protect Kate. Every choice, every sacrifice, every lonely night. But I can't protect her from what's coming next. What's coming? The truth. Jennifer's hand found his in the darkness. Vincent Moretti isn't just angry about his father. He's angry because... The door exploded inward. Vincent Moretti stood in the doorway, backlit by emergency lighting, flanked by 4 armed men. But it was the 5th person that made Damon's blood turn to ice. Sarah Mitchell, being held at gunpoint, her face bruised and terrified. And in Sarah's arms, still wearing her blue and red jacket, was Kate. Hello, Damon, Vincent said smoothly. I believe you have something of mine. Damon's weapon came up instantly, but Vincent's man pressed his gun harder against Sarah's temple. You shoot me, Dr. Mitchell dies. You shoot my men, the little girl gets to watch, and we wouldn't want that, would we? Vincent's smile was poison. After all, she's already seen too much for such a young age. Damon. Kate's voice was small and frightened, nothing like the brave child who'd pointed a gun at him hours ago. He said you were hurt. He said we had to come help you. Sarah's eyes were apologetic, desperate. I'm sorry, they had police badges. They said there was an emergency. I didn't know. It's not your fault, Damon said, his mind racing through 1,000 scenarios, all of them ending in blood. His gun never wavered from Vincent's head, but they both knew it was a stalemate. Vincent, let them go. This is between us. Is it? Vincent stepped fully into the room, his men fanning out. See, that's where you're wrong. This stopped being between us 15 years ago when Jennifer Connor destroyed my family. Your family destroyed itself, Jennifer said from beside the bed, her own weapon trained on Vincent. Your father was trafficking children. I stopped him. I'd do it again. Would you? Vincent's eyes glittered with malice. Even knowing the cost? What cost? Damon demanded. Vincent laughed. She didn't tell you? Oh, this is delicious. Jennifer, sweetheart, don't you think Damon deserves to know why Kate exists? The room went very still. Vincent, don't... Jennifer's voice cracked. Why you gave testimony wasn't just civic duty, it was personal. Vincent's smile was cruel. Tell him, Jennifer. Tell him who Kate's biological father really is. Damon's world tilted. What is he talking about? Jennifer's face was white, the gun shaking in her hands. Damon, I was going to tell you. Kate isn't yours, Vincent said triumphantly. She's my brother Anthony's daughter. The detective you trusted to protect Jennifer? He did more than protect her, if you know what I mean. That's why Jennifer went into witness protection. Not just to hide from us, to hide the fact that she was carrying a Moretti's child. The words were bullets, each one tearing through Damon's chest. He looked at Kate. Her dark hair, her green eyes that he'd thought were Jennifer's, her brave heart that he'd convinced himself was his own. Not his daughter. Never his daughter. A Moretti. No, Kate whispered, understanding in that way children do when adults speak words they shouldn't hear. No, that's not true. Dr. Sarah said... Sarah was wrong, Vincent said softly, viciously. Your real father is unconscious on the floor over there. The man who hurt your mother. The man whose blood runs in your veins. He looked at Damon. Still want to play father to a Moretti, De Luca? Still want to protect the child of your enemy? Damon's weapon wavered. Every instinct, every calculation, every reason he'd built his empire on told him to walk away. The Morettis had taken everything from him. His safety, his peace, his illusions about family. Kate was watching him with those green eyes, waiting to see if the man who'd promised to protect her would abandon her now. Damon, please, Jennifer begged. I lied to Sarah. I lied to everyone because I couldn't. I couldn't let them know. Anthony raped me when I first went into protection. Kate is his, biologically, but she's mine. She's innocent. She doesn't deserve to be protected by the man her mother used, Vincent finished. Because that's what you did, wasn't it, Jennifer? You let De Luca fall in love with you, saved his life, gave him that necklace so you'd always have a weapon. A Mafia Don who'd tear the world apart if you called. You played him for 15 years. That's not true, Jennifer's voice broke. I loved him. I still... Then why didn't you tell him about the rape? Why didn't you call him when you found out you were pregnant? Why did you let him think Kate was his when you knew she wasn't? Vincent's questions were surgical, cutting straight to the fear Damon didn't want to voice. Why hadn't she told him? Because, Jennifer whispered, tears streaming, I knew if I told you the truth, you'd look at Kate the way you're looking at her now, like she's a Moretti, like she's the enemy, like she's poison. Damon's eyes were on Kate, who was crying silently in Sarah's arms. Daddy, she whispered, the word a question and a plea. And Damon realized Vincent's revenge was perfect. Not death, not destruction. But this, standing in a hospital room forced to choose between his hatred for the Morettis and the little girl who'd called him Daddy, a little girl who carried his enemy's blood. You see, Vincent said softly, this is what Jennifer took from me. My father, my family, my legacy. Now I'm taking hers. I'm making her watch as the man she loves rejects her child, as Kate learns that love is conditional, as everything falls apart. He gestured to his men. Kill De Luca. Leave the women alive. I want them to live with this. The guns came up. Damon had seconds to make a choice. Save himself and abandon Kate. Or die protecting a child who wasn't his, who carried the blood of the family he'd sworn to destroy, who represented everything he should hate. He looked at Kate. She looked back. And Damon made his choice. Damon moved before Vincent's men could fire, not toward safety, not toward escape. He dove in front of Kate. The bullets that should have killed him hit the hospital bed instead, tearing through mattress and metal. Damon wrapped himself around Sarah and Kate, his body a shield, his choice absolute. "Hold fire!" Vincent's voice cracked with fury. "I said hold—" But Leo burst through the window. Not from the door. From the window, 4 stories up, swinging on a rappelling line with 3 men behind him. Glass exploded inward. Gunfire erupted. Vincent's men scattered, caught between 2 fronts, as Leo's team came through like avenging angels. In the chaos, Damon looked down at Kate's terrified face. "Listen to me," he said urgently, over the sound of bullets and shouting. "I don't care whose blood is in your veins. I don't care about DNA or biology or what Vincent says is true." His voice broke with emotion he'd buried for years. "You're my daughter. You walked into my world with a gun and demanded answers. You were brave when grown men would have run. You're mine. Kate. Not because of blood. Because you chose me, and I choose you." Kate's small hands gripped his jacket. "Even though I'm— especially because you're you." Damon pressed his forehead to hers. "Family isn't about who made you. It's about who loves you. And I love you." The words he'd never said to anyone, came easily. Jennifer's sob cut through the gunfire. "Damon—" "Later," he said, standing with Kate in his arms. "Right now, we end this." Leo had Vincent pinned against the wall, gun to his head. Vincent's men were down or surrendering. But Vincent himself was laughing, actually laughing despite the blood running from his temple. "You think this changes anything?" Vincent spat. "You think playing daddy makes you noble? She's still a Moretti. She'll always be a Moretti. And one day she'll betray you just like her mother." "Her mother saved my life," Damon said quietly, and the room went still. "Jennifer Connor pulled me from darkness when she didn't have to. She protected Kate for 15 years alone. She survived assault and turned it into strength. She's more dangerous than you'll ever be because she fights for love, not revenge." He set Kate down gently, then walked to where Anthony Corleone lay bleeding from Jennifer's shoulder shot. The detective was conscious, his eyes filled with hate. "You," Damon said softly, "you hurt the woman I love. You created life through violence and thought that made you powerful." He crouched down. "But Kate, she's going to be everything you're not. Strong, brave, good. Because Jennifer and I are going to raise her together. And every day she becomes more herself. You become more irrelevant." Anthony's laugh was bitter. "You can't erase what I am to her." "No," Jennifer said, moving to stand beside Damon. "But we can give her something you never had. A father who chooses love over hate. A family built on choice, not blood." She looked at Vincent. "Your father built an empire on suffering. It fell. You tried to rebuild it on revenge. And it's falling again. The Moretti legacy ends tonight." "The legacy ends," Kate said suddenly, her small voice carrying across the room, "because I'm not a Moretti." Everyone turned to look at her. She stood straight, no longer crying, her eyes blazing with the same fire Damon had seen on the rooftop. "My last name is Connor. My mama gave it to me. And if Damon wants to be my daddy, then I'm a De Luca too. But I'm not a Moretti. I'm not bad. I'm not mean." Her chin lifted. "And I'm not scared of you anymore." Vincent's face contorted with rage. He lunged. And Leo fired, not to kill. Through the leg, dropping Vincent to the ground, howling. "That's for the little girl," Leo said simply. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Real police this time, not corrupt cops on the Moretti payroll. Damon had made one call before leaving Sarah's brownstone, to the one person he trusted in law enforcement. Captain Maria Santiago appeared in the doorway moments later, her SWAT team behind her. She took in the scene, the broken window, the wounded men, Vincent Moretti bleeding on the floor, and whistled low. "Damon De Luca, I should arrest you on principle." "You should," Damon agreed, "but you won't, because I'm giving you something better than my arrest." He pulled the burner phone from Anthony Corleone's jacket and tossed it to her. "Complete records of the Moretti organization's operations financial records. Names, addresses, everything you need to dismantle what's left of their empire." Maria caught it, her eyes widening. And in exchange? Witness protection. Real protection this time. For Jennifer and Kate Connor. New identities. Clean slate. The city forgets they exist. "Damon, no!" Jennifer started. "Yes," he said firmly, turning to her. "I won't make you live in my world, Jennifer. Not if you don't want to, but I won't let you live in fear either." He looked at Captain Santiago. "Can you do it?" Maria studied him for a long moment. "You're really walking away from them? From your daughter?" "I'm not walking away. I'm giving them a choice." Damon's voice was steady, despite the pain in his chest. "If Jennifer wants to disappear again, raise Kate somewhere safe. I'll respect that. But if she wants—" He looked at Jennifer. "If she wants something else, I'll be there. However she needs me." Kate pulled away from Sarah and ran to Damon, wrapping her arms around his legs. "I don't want new names. I don't want to hide. I want you." "Sweetheart? You promised you'd come back. You promised Mama would be safe. You promised we'd be a family." Kate looked up at him with absolute trust. "Are you breaking your promise?" Damon knelt, his heart breaking and healing simultaneously. "Never. But Kate, my world is dangerous." "So is hiding," Kate interrupted with 5-year-old logic. "Mama hid for my whole life and the bad guys still found us. Maybe being with you is safer because you don't hide, you fight." From across the room, Jennifer laughed. Actually laughed, despite everything. "She's smarter than both of us." "She gets that from you," Damon said. "No." Jennifer moved closer, wincing from her injuries, but steady. "She gets it from choosing the two most stubborn people in Brooklyn as her parents." She took Damon's hand. "I was wrong. For 15 years I was wrong. I thought keeping you away would keep us safe. But safe isn't the same as living." "Jennifer." "I love you, Damon De Luca. I've loved you since the night you bled on my couch and thanked me for saving your life. I've loved you through every lonely year, every scared moment, every time Kate asked about her father and I didn't know what to say." Tears streamed down her face. "I'm done hiding. If you'll have us, broken, complicated, dangerous us, then we're yours." Damon looked at this woman who'd survived assault, raised a child alone, turned herself into a weapon while keeping her heart soft. He looked at Kate, who'd faced down a Mafia Don with nothing but courage and a mother's necklace. His family, not by blood, by choice. "I'll have you," he whispered. "God help me, I'll have you both, and I'll spend every day proving you made the right choice." "So," Captain Santiago said dryly, "I'm putting complicated domestic situation in my report?" Despite everything, Damon smiled. "Put whatever you want. Just make sure Vincent and Anthony Moretti never see freedom again." "Oh, that I can guarantee," Maria signaled her team. "But De Luca, stay out of trouble, for the kids' sake if nothing else." As they hauled Vincent and Anthony away, both men screaming threats that rang hollow now, Kate tugged on Damon's hand. "Daddy." The word wasn't a question anymore. It was a statement. "Can we go home now?" Damon looked at Jennifer, who nodded through her tears. "Yeah, sweetheart," he said, lifting Kate into his arms while supporting Jennifer with his other hand. "Let's go home." 3 days later, Damon stood in the warehouse where Leo had captured Tony Corleone. The same warehouse where Jennifer's testimony had ended the first Moretti empire. The same warehouse where Vincent had planned to kill him. Now it would serve one final purpose. Tony sat bound to a chair, defiant despite 3 days of isolation. His eyes tracked Damon as he entered, but there was something else in his expression. Not fear. Calculation. "Took you long enough," Tony said. "Thought maybe you'd gone soft, playing house with your instant family." Damon said nothing. He simply placed a folder on the table between them and opened it. Inside were photographs, bank statements, text messages, and one birth certificate that made Tony's face go white. "Maria Santiago is thorough," Damon said quietly. When I gave her that burner phone, she started pulling threads. Turned out the Moretti conspiracy went deeper than anyone thought. He tapped the birth certificate. Anthony Corleone wasn't Vincent's half-brother. He was Vincent's twin. Different names, different paths, but the same father, same hateful blood. Tony's jaw clenched. So what? So it explains why you joined my organization 12 years ago, right after you learned the truth about your own parentage. Damon leaned forward. You're not Tony Corleone. You're Antonio Moretti, the third son, the one who was adopted out as a baby when your father decided 3 kids was too many mouths to feed. The silence was deafening. You spent 12 years working for me, gaining my trust, waiting for your brothers to make their move. You were the final failsafe. If Vincent and Anthony failed, you'd still be in position to destroy me from the inside. Damon's voice was ice. But they failed, and now you're the last Moretti standing. Wrong, Tony spat. Kate is a Connor, soon to be a De Luca. Damon's hand moved to his weapon. The Moretti name ends today, every last one of you. Tony laughed bitterly. Go ahead, kill me. Make Kate grow up knowing her father murders people. Show her exactly what kind of monster. I'm not going to kill you. Tony blinked. What? I'm not going to kill you, Damon repeated calmly. Because that's what the old me would have done. The man who built an empire on fear and blood. The man who thought power came from how many enemies he crushed. He pulled out his phone and showed Tony a photo. Kate and Jennifer, asleep on the couch in Damon's penthouse. Kate's hand clutched Jennifer's, their faces peaceful for the first time in years. That little girl changed me. She walked into my world and reminded me that some things matter more than revenge, more than empires, more than proving I'm the most dangerous man in Brooklyn. Damon's voice softened. She taught me that being a father means choosing who you want to be, not accepting who you were. So what? You're just letting me go? Tony's voice dripped with disbelief. No, I'm giving you to Captain Santiago. She has enough evidence to put you away for 30 years. Conspiracy, racketeering, attempted murder. Damon stood. You'll spend the rest of your life in a cage, knowing that the Moretti legacy died not because I killed you, but because I chose something better. The Empire, Tony said desperately. You're just going to walk away from everything you built? For her? For them? Damon paused at the door. I'm not walking away from the Empire. I'm transforming it. That afternoon, Damon called a meeting. Every captain, every lieutenant, every soldier who'd sworn loyalty to him gathered in the meeting hall that had seen 1,000 deals and 100 betrayals. Leo stood beside him, having already heard the plan. His friend's face was unreadable. Gentlemen, Damon began, his voice carrying authority that needed no weapon to enforce it. 12 years ago, Tony Corleone joined this organization. I trusted him. I elevated him. I gave him access to everything. He paused. He was a Moretti, a plant, and I didn't see it. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. That's on me, my failure, my blindness. Damon's eyes swept the room. But it made me realize something. This empire I built, it attracts enemies, creates them, perpetuates a cycle of violence that never ends. He took a breath. My daughter deserves better than that cycle, and so do all of you. Boss, what are you saying? One of the captains asked nervously. I'm saying the De Luca organization is going legitimate. No more protection rackets. No more gray market operations. We're going clean. Before the protests could start, Damon raised his hand. Every man here has a choice. Stay and help me build something legal. Real estate, security firms, legitimate businesses, or take a severance package and walk away. No judgment. No retaliation. You've lost your mind, someone shouted. The other families will eat us alive. Let them try, Leo said suddenly, stepping forward. The boss isn't asking. He's telling. And anyone who has a problem with it can take it up with me. The room went quiet. Leo Brody's loyalty was legendary. If he backed this play, others would follow. I'm with the boss. Another voice called. Then another. Then another. Not everyone. Some men walked out immediately, unwilling to give up the life they knew, but more stayed than Damon expected. Men who were tired. Men who had families of their own. Men who saw in Damon's choice a chance to become something other than what they'd always been. When the room finally cleared, Leo turned to Damon. You know this won't be easy. Going legitimate means audits, taxes, playing by rules we've spent years breaking. I know. The other families will see it as weakness. Let them. And Kate, she'll grow up knowing what you were, what you did before her. I'll tell her the truth when she's old enough to understand, that I was a man who made terrible choices until she gave me a reason to make better ones. Damon looked at his oldest friend. You don't have to stay, Leo. You've been loyal long enough. Shut up, boss. I'm staying. Someone has to make sure you don't screw up this whole father thing. Leo's rare smile appeared. Besides, legitimate security work pays better anyway, and my daughter's been asking when I'm going to get a safer job. You have a daughter? 3, actually. You'd know that if you ever asked about anything other than business. Leo clapped him on the shoulder. Welcome to fatherhood, Damon. It's terrifying and wonderful and worth every sleepless night. That evening, Damon returned to the penthouse to find Jennifer teaching Kate how to bake cookies. Flour covered every surface. Kate's face was smudged with chocolate. Jennifer was laughing, actually laughing, in a way he'd never heard before. Daddy! Kate ran to him, leaving flour footprints across his expensive floor. We made cookies. Well, Mama made them. I mostly made a mess. The mess is the best part, Damon said, lifting her up despite his dress shirt. He didn't care about the flour, didn't care about the chocolate handprints. For the first time in his life, he cared about something more than appearances. Jennifer watched him with soft eyes. How did it go? It went. He set Kate down and moved to Jennifer, pulling her close despite her protests about getting him dirty. The Empire is changing. We're going legitimate. It'll take time, but you're doing it for us, Jennifer finished. No. Damon cupped her face. I'm doing it for me, because I want to be a man my daughter can be proud of, a man you don't have to hide from the world. He kissed her forehead. I spent 15 years building an empire of fear. Now I'm going to spend the rest of my life building a family of love. Kate tugged on his pants. Does that mean no more bad guys? It means I'm going to try very hard to be one of the good guys, Damon said honestly. Good. Kate nodded seriously. Because good guys get to eat cookies. Bad guys only get vegetables. Despite everything, the violence, the betrayals, the empire crumbling and reforming, Damon laughed. Actually laughed. The sound foreign, but right. Then I guess I better eat a cookie, he said, letting Kate drag him to the kitchen. Behind them, Jennifer touched the crescent moon necklace she wore and smiled. Her faith 15 years ago had been rewarded. The man she'd saved had saved her in return. And together they'd save each other every day for the rest of their lives. 6 months later, Kate's laughter echoed through the playground in Central Park, a sound so pure it made Damon's chest ache in the best way. She'd grown in the months since that night on the rooftop. Taller, stronger, more confident. The nightmares had faded. The fear in her eyes had been replaced with the boundless joy of a child who finally felt safe. Daddy, watch, she called, hanging upside down from the monkey bars with fearless abandon. I'm watching, Princess, Damon called back, his hand intertwined with Jennifer's. Jennifer leaned her head on his shoulder, and he marveled at how natural it felt. How right. They'd spent 6 months learning each other, not the desperate stolen moments of 15 years ago, but real, everyday intimacy. Morning coffee, bedtime stories, arguments about Kate's bedtime, and discussions about schools, and 1,000 tiny moments that built a life. She's happy, Jennifer said softly. So are you. So are you. She looked up at him, and her smile held no more shadows. When was the last time you checked your phone for business emergencies? Damon pulled out his phone and showed her. 2 hours ago, new record. The transition to legitimate business had been brutal. 3 rival families had tested him in the first month, probing for weakness. Damon had responded not with violence, but with lawyers, strategic business moves, and the kind of ruthless corporate maneuvering that proved he was still the most dangerous man in Brooklyn, just in a different arena. The De Luca Security Corporation now provided protection services to half the businesses in the city. Legal, licensed, clean. The real estate holdings Leo managed were booming, and the community center they'd opened in the old warehouse district, funded by Damon's anonymous donation, was changing lives every day. Vincent and Anthony Moretti had been sentenced to life without parole. Tony, Antonio Moretti, had taken a plea deal for 30 years. The Moretti name was finally, truly extinct. Except in the legal documents that proved Kate had no biological connection to Damon De Luca. Those documents sat in his safe at home alongside another set of papers he'd been carrying for 3 months. Adoption papers. "Jennifer," he said quietly, pulling her attention from Kate's acrobatics. "There's something I want to ask you. If it's about the living situation again, I already told you. Marry me." Jennifer's breath caught. "What?" Damon pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant, with a crescent moon diamond that caught the sunlight. "I know we're doing this backward, living together, raising a daughter, building a life. But I want to do it right. I want you to be my wife. I want Kate to be legally mine. I want—" His voice cracked. "I want the world to know that you two are my family. Not by accident, not by circumstance, by choice." Tears streamed down Jennifer's face. "You really want this? The PTA meetings and the school plays and the mundane, boring, normal life?" "I want every boring moment with you. Every ordinary day, every crisis and celebration and everything in between." He took her hand. "Jennifer Connor, you saved my life 15 years ago. Let me spend the rest of mine proving I was worth saving." "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes." He slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her, not with the desperate passion of stolen moments, but with the steady promise of forever. "Mama! Daddy! You're kissing!" Kate's voice was scandalized and delighted. She ran over, eyes wide. "Does this mean you're getting married?" "It does," Damon said, lifting her up. "And it means I'm going to officially adopt you, make you Kate De Luca, if that's what you want." Kate's face scrunched up thoughtfully. "Will I still remember Mama's last name?" "Always," Jennifer said. "You'll be Kate Connor De Luca. You get to keep all the parts of who you are." "And I get a daddy?" Kate looked at Damon with eyes that still held traces of the vulnerable child who'd pointed a gun at him, but mostly held the joy of a little girl who'd found her place in the world. "You get a daddy who will love you every single day for the rest of his life," Damon promised. "Not because of blood, because you're you, and you're perfect." Kate threw her arms around his neck. "I love you, Daddy." "I love you too, Princess." 3 months later, on a cool autumn evening, Damon De Luca married Jennifer Connor in a small ceremony at the community center they'd built. Leo was his best man. Sarah was Jennifer's maid of honor. Kate was the flower girl, proudly wearing a dress she'd picked out herself. Captain Maria Santiago attended, off-duty and genuinely smiling. "Never thought I'd see the day," she told Damon. "Mafia Don turned family man." "Former Mafia Don," Damon corrected. "Now I'm just a security consultant with really good instincts." "And a really big heart," Jennifer added, joining them. "Don't forget that part." As the reception wound down and Kate fell asleep in Leo's arms, Uncle Leo, as she now called him, Damon and Jennifer stood on the roof of the community center, the same roof where Kate had confronted him 6 months ago. "Do you ever regret it?" Jennifer asked. "Giving up the empire? The power?" "Never." Damon pulled her close. I traded an empire for a family. That's not a sacrifice. That's the best deal I ever made. Below them, Brooklyn spread out in a tapestry of lights. Somewhere in that city, criminals still operated. Violence still happened. The darkness never truly went away. But in this moment, on this roof, Damon De Luca had everything that mattered. A wife who loved him, a daughter who chose him, a future built on something more than fear. "What are you thinking about?" Jennifer asked. "I'm thinking about a scared nurse who stopped to save a bleeding stranger 15 years ago," Damon said, "and how that one act of kindness changed everything." "She sounds very brave," Jennifer teased. "She was terrifying," Damon agreed. "Still is. But now she's mine." "Forever," Jennifer promised, kissing him as the city lights twinkled below. And somewhere in the reception hall, Kate stirred in Leo's arms and smiled in her sleep, dreaming of a family built not on blood or violence or fear, but on the simple, revolutionary choice to love. If this story touched your heart, please drop a comment and let me know your favorite moment. Was it Kate's bravery? Damon's transformation? Jennifer's strength? I want to hear from every single one of you beautiful souls out there. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. I have so many more stories like this one. Stories about love, redemption, courage, and the incredible power of choosing family. You don't want to miss what's coming next.